Well, that worked pretty good. Hey, they getting the bugs worked out of the software yet.
They might. They just might.
The more I look at the prices of the other ones, it's like, ooh.
Yep.
So what's up, everybody? How are y'all? Let me get my chat pulled up where I can see everything. There we go. Busy week here at the shack. So what's up, Mr. Larry, David Allen, Mark, Dale, Tom, Chris, down under, Mr. Kevin, Joe Worrell, how are you, sir, from Virginia? Darren, Dan, Robert, Midnight Sunworks, Vince, Bulldog, North Alabama Smoke, Brian, Ralph, Peter, Craig, Brian, and Roger. My goodness. Okay, so if you're not, if I didn't get to call your name, you're too late. We're gonna get the early birds, and that is it. How about that? How about that, Babbles? So what's been going on with you, Steve, over there? You got a little bit of a pest problem tonight, or what?
We'll see. See if that. Well, it was. It cooled off overnight. We've had a little bit of a warm streak, but got back to it first day of fall. It actually felt like fall. So I had the doors open, had the big door open. Actually, while I was running some laser tests earlier, I had a squirrel with a big old walnut come right up to the roll-up door. I was like, "Don't you dare!" But no, I got a fly buzzing around here, so you may see me hunting.
Well, just so you know, Steve, it's going to be cooling off a bit this week down here also. Tomorrow, the high is only supposed to be 94. The low will be 70. And then Tuesday, we're going to be 92. Wednesday, it hits 83. Thursday, 74 for the high. So, hey, yeah, how's that for a 20-degree drop in a matter of 3 or 4 days? So, it's supposed to be cooling off. Of course, I think we've got some tropical storm heading our way that could potentially be a hurricane again. So, it's hurricane season here at the Clack Shack.
Yeah, you guys get to deal with that fun. I think overnight tonight, they're actually predicting the low here to being right around 44. So,
we'll see that about December. So, what's up, Eric? Valley Forged. Hey. How are you, sir? Let's see, what else we got?
I should have brought them back out. So I put together a video past couple days, launched it yesterday, just in time for fall, on some Halloween luminaries. And put that out there basically as a how-to. A lot of people like to make these. Some people cut them on CNCs, the little lantern type things. But thought I'd show an easy way to design them, both in LightBurn as well as in XCS. So put that out there, but I forgot to bring some out. I could have had them sitting behind me with their little glowing LED lights. But yeah, check that out if people want to learn. I use a online box generator and talk about node editing in that one to design them. So
yes, somebody heard my play on the hurricane, but yeah, we've been dealing with hurricanes in the weather, but I've also been dealing with a hurricane in the shop too, and I pretty much run that thing exclusively for the past week. Every job I've done, I've ran on it. Y'all know I've always liked my diodes because it just the CO2s I've had were a little quirky. This is the first time that I can honestly say this CO2 feels like I'm running a regular atom stack diode. Like I'm really digging it. There's only couple of things that I really wish they'd have done a little different. One was give me just a little more clearance from the nozzle. A little more. I've done got used to my atom stack A70's clearance. And so the Hurricane's it's not bad because you can raise it up on the Z-axis a little bit, but it's closer than I like it. But I was cutting cardboard today, and you know how cardboard sometimes like has that little bit of slope to it. So I just added 3 to my Z-axis, raised it up, and went to ripping it. So, because I was having to work on another prototype of this, so I had to cut a lot of cardboard at 30 millimeters per second, 100% power. It just shreds freaking cardboard. So, and I engraved that with it.
You aren't able to go any faster than that?
I probably could, but I didn't. I didn't do a speed test. I just set it at like 30 and let it go.
Because I cut Baltic birch plywood 1/8 inch at that. I would think you could go faster on cardboard.
I don't know. I didn't want it to hang. Cardboard can sometimes be my nemesis.
Yeah.
Now I can tell you, the actual paper that I was cutting, I was putting like 10 sheets of that stuff together and still doing 30 millimeters a second. So, Brandy's saying she might need you to, some of those lanterns for her porch, Steve. I started to make one with a Steve head on it, but I was busy doing paying jobs.
Oh.
So I didn't get a chance to do it. But that was on my list. She's been working on her porch.
Mm-hmm. You know. Well, I'll send you the link to the Etsy file if you want to buy it.
I could probably whip one up. I could probably whip one up. See, I knew that was gonna come. I knew that question was gonna hit me. Brian. All in all, right now, I'm going to be honest with you. I never used the P2 that much except for acrylic when I had to, because just some minor build things about it. I like the P2. The P2 is a good running machine. It works well, but I can't put my hand on it, but there's something about this machine that just... It runs LightBurn perfectly. There's no sell-offs. The camera works. It's not a whole lot of rigged up macros and all that. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it so far. The work area is a little bit bigger on the Hurricane as far as what you can set in there. The actual cutting area is smaller, but you can put bigger material in there. So it's weird. So we'll see. But my P2 is right there, just in case. in case something goes down and I need it for a job, then I can always drag it out. It's on wheels. I put it on a little roller and rolled it up underneath the CNC over there, out of the way. But so far, I have no plans of putting the P2 back up there unless that Hurricane tears up. Let's put it that way. It's it's different. Now I will say this: it's CO2 is pretty awesome and everything, but it's not that much quicker cutting than the A70 with wood and stuff. But now acrylic and everything that I've cut is cut really smooth, so I'm liking it.
Well, what you will find though is it tends to be a more efficient burn. So this is, if I can get it to focus. This is cut on the P2, and you get that nice light tan caramelization where the diodes tend to be a darker burn. And now, so the inverse is also true on engravings. You get a nice deeper tone on engravings with the diode versus the CO2. But sometimes that cut edge can be just a little bit cleaner on the CO2, even on wood. Well,
that's the edge on this. Now, this is that pre-finished material that I buy. And it still had to go really slow to cut this, because this stuff is hard. I don't know what it is between the coating and everything, but this stuff is hard. But I cleaned the lenses on it earlier just to make sure that they were clean, and they had gotten a little dirty because I've been running it. Like I said, I've been running it a lot. So far, I like the machine. I really need to sit down and dial it in with some of the thinner materials, but so far I've been so busy doing jobs with it that I haven't done as much testing. I did a bunch of testing for like the first 3 or 4 days, and I started throwing jobs on it, and that's all I've been doing since then.
Sure. But
Oh,
so Dan Cook 08 is asking, LightBurn is changing their prices and wondering if we'd be able to explain the price changes better than their website. And I did post this out in the laser engraver community group earlier this week that they are raising their prices, and that's starting on October 1st. So that's coming up in just over a week. They haven't changed their price in a while. So depending on what you're looking at, price is going to go up or price is going to go down a little bit. They're cutting it back to basically two. So they've got their LightBurn Core, which is basically what the G code version is right now. And unfortunately, that's going to jump up to $99 for your initial purchase. But then if you want to have the DSP for, like your Ruida CO2 lasers as well as Galvo, that's going to be $199, whereas that would have been a little over $200 because you would have bought the original DSP license and then you would have bought the Galvo license as an add-on. So they're trying to cut it back to just a couple of licenses to help cover, have less confusion over what version you would need. So if you are running your typical diode laser, which runs G code, yes, the price is going to go up and October 1st. Now, that is still a perpetual license. That's a one-time purchase. You can use it forever at that point, but it does come with 1 year of updates. At that point, then you can choose to pay for software updates. So if you've been a long-time customer, over 2 years, they're going to let you continue to update that. Instead of being $30, it's going to be $40 for a year of updates. So that is going up a little bit. If you've been paying for at least 1 year, so basically 2024 on, that cost is going to be $45. Otherwise, if you're brand new to buying it, and if you let it lapse, so if you decide I'm going to wait a year and then do the updates, well, then it's going to cost you $50. So a little bit of a difference and a little more confusion on the update side. Now, one thing that I don't know if they're going to include is currently if you renew your software updates before your license expires, they add on 2 months extra on top of that year of updates. So if you're coming up on your update cycle and you're thinking that you want to renew that, it might be worth your time to go ahead and pay that now. It doesn't start now. It starts at the end of your current thing, and it will extend it then actually 14 months. So so a little bit of changes with that. Like with everything else, seems like prices are going up. I'm sure their costs for developers and such are going up. They've been working with a lot of different lasers and trying to incorporate functionality and such. So I'm sure that's a bit of a cost for them. So is it worth a jump from 60 to 99 for some people? They might question it, but honestly, I've been using this for a number of years, and it's one of the cheaper softwares you can get for machine control and design that's out there. So I still feel at $99, it's a pretty good deal for what you get and what you can do. It's just unfortunate they're having to raise their prices. So hopefully that helped clear it up. And we'll see as they start rolling these out, what effect that has on it.
Well, I think a lot of it too is that with them expanding what machines they're incorporating, because now they're starting to work with a lot of the proprietary machines, whereas used to, you were limited to certain machines. You could only work it with their software. So I think that, coupled with, like you said, just generic, like everything's getting more expensive, is causing it. But as far as the price, when I sit and look at how much I pay for Adobe and the streaming software and CNC software and all of these other things, compare that to what I'm paying for LightBurn, it's nothing. Like, this streaming software is what, $40 a month? And you multiply that times 12 months. Like today, I got hit with my Adobe, $36, my QuickBooks, $33. I mean, so grand scheme of things, that LightBurn is still low on my list of expenses. So,
well, and the fact that they're giving you a perpetual license, that if if you stop paying them, you can still use it. Try doing that with Adobe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's unfortunate that prices have to go up on it, but I still feel it's a pretty good deal comparatively, and for the value you just get straight out of the software.
Yeah. All right. See, Over the Hill, I was asking, is the Monport 30A worth it? Over the Hill, I am a little limited on my experience when it comes to MOPAs, because this is my first one. Oh. I will tell you this: compared to a regular, like I've had a 20-watt fiber before. I've got the LP4, LP5, the F1, the F1 Ultra, and the ASMR 2-in-1 for marking, like anodized materials, metals, and stuff like that. I will say it's fast. The precision on it, the resolution of the engraves is awesome. Now, the price difference of the 30-watt as compared to, say, a 60, I think that's where you got to kind of do your homework as far as what you're going to do with it, what you expect from the machine. Doing anodized materials, doing basic marking. I don't think there's anything wrong with the 30-watt. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of, coins, deep digs with a fiber, doing, just extended engraves, you probably want to step on up to the 60 or the 100-watt. But for what I use it for, the small stuff that I do, so far I'm happy with it. I don't try to do the 3D coins and stuff like that. Those, to me, although it's cool, and if you want to do one for yourself and keep in your pocket, to show people, I think that's cool. But I've yet to see anybody that can sell those things and do them and sell them and show me where it's that profitable, more profitable than some of the other stuff that I do. Because the time and effort that goes into it, the cost of a blank if you mess up, the cost of time that you've got invested if you mess up, I don't see me ever making coins, for money. That's just not something I'm getting into. Marking stuff, making keychains, putting serial numbers on stuff, that kind of thing is more what I would be into do than I would something that expensive. Because I went the other day and priced some brass and just going to do straight up brass and make my own blanks and everything. I'm going to do it, but man, brass is not cheap right now. I'm talking a little small bar, a flat bar, quarter inch thick, that long, and probably 50 millimeters tall, just big enough to make a decent coin out of, was $45. And so by the time you buy the material, CNC out the blanks, then put the blanks in the laser and engrave them, I just don't see anybody wanting to pay me $300 for a coin. Because that's, by the time I figure up my time in building it, that's what I'm going to have in it. So, not to mention, a roller and all these different things that you need to go with it. So but for doing what I do with the anodized keychains and stuff like that, because I can take one of those little, $1.50 keychains and sell it for $10 all day long, and I could turn those things out, 100 of them in a couple of hours. So that's where I go with the machine, as opposed to the, in-depth stuff.
Well, I think with the coins, that's it's something where someone wants a kind of a one-off unique item, and so you might be doing a coin for an inlay on a bigger project, and they're willing to pay for it because as you said, it's a lot of time into it. But yeah, there are other methods for them to do more volume coins. There's places out there you can get challenge coins made much cheaper than the time it's going to take you to do them. But if you want a one-off one, that's where the market for that is.
Yeah, I think, like I said, to me, from a business model, it don't make sense for me. You know what I mean? because my time is not going to be well paid for. And if I did my hourly rate for something like that, it would just the price of it would be astronomical. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm that expensive, but if I'm going to be in my shop working, I'm going to get paid what I normally get paid. You know what I mean? So,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and it's an investment. I mean, there's a lot of people. If you try to do a 3D printing business with one 3D printer, you're gonna be sitting there waiting for a while, and that's why you get these printer farms. Where they've got 20, 30 of them. Stuff. That's where, but those tend to be a little more less expensive than your typical fiber laser that's going to be doing coins.
There you go, Mark. Mark said the orbs were giving him motion sickness back there.
Well, Clark, you get a new toy. You're gonna play with it.
Well, hey, it was a button. I just clicked a button. But yeah, I like the machine. The machine works great. I do got a project that I'm going to be doing. Some of you may have saw it. I got lucky. I went to Walmart to get some spray paint, and as always, I was walking around just looking, like, what can I engrave? And I found a whole bunch of these little 7-inch, just little boot knives for $3.50 on sale. So I bought those, and I'm gonna play around with them. They're all the same color. I'm gonna see if I can find settings for engraving the handle as well as the blade. And worst case, I'll just have random engraved knives laying around to open boxes with. But if I get lucky and get it right the first to go around, I've actually got, I think, like 5 or 6 of them, so that I can maybe generate some little, stocking stuffers or free gifts or something. It's also got this like little Kydex little holster thing that I don't know if I'm gonna be doing anything with that or not. We might. We'll see.
Yeah, I actually picked up a bundle of stainless steel folding knives, so I plan to do a little playing around with that with the Up-1 Ultra and the laser packer.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and these are actually little CRKTs. So these are little short, chubby little knives, but I mean it's a good little all around put it in your pocket kind of knife. And this whole thing is looks to be engravable, so it's all metal. So I'm gonna play around with those too, see what I can come up with. But I paid a little more for these. These were like $9 a piece, but if I can get a couple of good projects out of it to make it work. But I'm going to get those started as soon as I can. I've been working on these leaf things. Flower leaf, whatever presses. I've been working on those guys today. I got like 3 different versions. Trying to come up with the right size. So, there they are. So, I'm trying to come up with the right size. So I have a variety. Abby's happy because she's going to get the prototypes that didn't make the cut. She's going to get to have those. What's up there, Mr. Ballard? How are you, sir? What's up, Rick? How are you?
Her request from Brian. I'm going to try something real quick here, okay? You ready for it?
Sure.
See if it's going to work. Hey.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Don't want a monetization strike. Hey, he asked for Vikings purple.
Well, let's see what we got. What we got. Oh, I see where he's asking for it now.
Keep up with that chat, But let's see. Yeah, we've got some other questions and such here. Dark Forest Maid's asking, has anyone experienced with Photopea? Looks like a decent Photoshop alternative. I don't. I honestly don't play around with Photoshop as much as I do with Illustrator, and so then Inkscape is kind of the good alternative to that. But I don't know. What have you played with anything for photo editing besides Photoshop?
Just Photoshop. I've gotten to where I really ain't using Photoshop as much as I used to. I use the Adobe Cloud that we've got. The little quick tool. You just go into the what's it called? Hang on, I don't know, misquote what it's called. Adobe Express, I've got to where I go in there because instead of it's just a lot more like one click as opposed to Photoshop, which is a little more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So like removing backgrounds and stuff like that, the Adobe Express is just really quick, and you can even change, like you can do a lot of the things you can do in Photoshop except for like generative fill and stuff like that, which you have some generative fill capabilities in Adobe Express. And this is it right here. So like if I wanted to take, let's say, if I just wanted to remove a background because I want to engrave it on something, I can literally just click this button that says remove background, and then it's going to ask me to browse for an image. And so I could go to, let's see, like this picture here. I can pull it up and bam, the background's gone. And so now all I got to do is hit download. And so that's a lot quicker to me than Photoshop. So there it is, no background, and it's clean, easy. I mean, it's not perfect sometimes, but it worked out pretty well. And so if I wanted to put a background in there, I can click that and then just set that as the background. And so like building thumbnails and stuff, like this software is where it's at. So I just prefer it. I use this way more than I do Photoshop now. Like it's just, this is the way.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of a combination of a few different applications there. Yeah, Canva is kind of the non-Adobe version of that. Does a lot of the same tools. They have both free and I think they call it Pro license. So definitely play around with that, as an option. Otherwise, GIMP is a really good just straight up Photoshop alternative as well. And I think Jack was saying he used that. And I've used it in the past, but for just straight up photo editing, like when I was doing magazine editing and such, I actually used Adobe Lightroom instead of full on Photoshop. But there's a number of options out there. So,
well, if you're just wanting to change the contrast and hue and that kind of stuff, Windows, since they come out with Windows 10, the photo editor has gotten a lot more powerful when it comes to that kind of stuff, but they still have it built in, like, background removal and stuff like that. So it's Adobe's still my go-to because I have to pay for this anyway to get my video editing software. This is just kind of like one of those little add-ons that they give you, and so I've just gotten used to using it. Brandy uses a lot of Canva at her work, so she's more familiar with Canva. But me, this is Adobe. Adobe is like a daily driver for me every day.
Sure. He's asking, LightBurn can be installed on 3 computers, right? Yeah, it used to be limited to 2, but if you asked nicely, they'd let you have 3. But I believe recently they've started updating everybody's license to 3. Now, you can use their you can deactivate licenses, but also be mindful as they have a limit on the number of times you can deactivate and reactivate your license. So it's something like 15 or 20 of them. And if you hit that, you probably have to talk with them and kind of explain why, because they got to limit and make sure people aren't sharing the passwords and activating and reactivating them. So yeah, but three computers simultaneously with 1 license is what they allow.
Yeah. What's up, Dave? How are you, sir? Well, I will tell you this. The Clack Shack LLC has a couple of licenses for VCarve because, I bought VCarve desktop when I had the Jimitsu 6050, right? Well, then I got the Shipoko, so I had to get a license for VCarve Pro. So I wound up with 2 different license keys. But luckily, the licenses are in the business name, and I don't use the desktop version of VCarve. So Klein and Bill, the 2 of them each have that installed on their computer, and they use it. But it's the Clack Shack LLC license, and being that they're my subcontractors, I guess you could say, I just let them use those 2 seats on that license, and then I use the seat for Pro since I've got the bigger machine. So I can verify now that you can put VCarve desktop on at least 2 computers because I've got it on Billy and Klein's laptops that they use to run their CNCs.
Cool. Just trying to get caught up here. A lot of talk
Yep.
about the software and such. So Ryan's your daughter works at a library, and occasionally they do they thin the selection. So I work at a community college, and a few years ago, the librarian at the time was having to go through and really edit the circulation and kind of make space for some of the new courses and the new. We actually have programs come and go from the college because we're a community and technical program, and so there were all sorts of cool things. There were a lot of woodworking magazines. There was even a bunch of books that were like complete sets of like magazines back from like World War II. So I think it was like National Geographic sets in books, and so I snagged some of those, and so it's kind of cool. Have that. A lot of them, I gotta admit, they probably just sit on the shelf and look pretty, like most lawyers do. You know, they have those walls of books behind them. But yeah, there's still some good information in those, especially when looking at woodworking. You can get a lot of good jigs and patterns and such out of those old magazines. Jer's asking, for the Bamboo A1, is there anything else that should be bought when ordering right at the start? I've never had a 3D printer.
Filament.
Yeah, definitely get yourself a nice selection of filament. I knock on wood, I've had luck. I haven't had to swap out nozzles yet. But on my older printers, that was something I needed to make sure I had on hand as some spare nozzles. So it wouldn't hurt to grab at least the stock one, and also check they've got a finer point as well as a larger. You might want to. I think there's actually a 3-pack, the 0.2, 0.4, and 0.6. Might not hurt to have those on hand. If you're gonna, you may want to grab a spare build plate as well, just in case one gets really mucky and you want to continue printing and such. So, it's there's a few things, but I guess I haven't had any failures or need to upgrade that I have any real strong recommendations other than get yourself a variety of filament and play.
Yeah, I think I bought 2 of the extra stock nozzles for it when I bought it, and so far I haven't had to swap them out. And I bought extra build plate, but the build plate, having an extra one's pretty cool, especially if you're trying to turn out a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. You can just rate once the print gets through, because it'll send you a notification on your phone if you got the app on there that your print's completed. So you can run in there and pop the plate loose, put another plate on there, and start the next job. And you can just let that job sit to the side and cool. And when you come back, literally just wipe them off of the plate. You ain't got to fight with them or risk trying to pull them off while they're still adhered and pulling some of the coating off of your build plate or anything like that. Like, you can just literally set it to the side, and when you come back in 20 minutes and everything's cooled off, they will literally just knock right off of there with no force hardly. Yeah. So I think the 2 build plates is pretty cool to be able to rotate them like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, those will, as they cool. It's amazing how hard they stick when they're warm, but when they're cooled off, I mean, I've had some jobs running, and then they'll sit on the printer and they've cooled off, and all of a sudden the cat has knocked it off the belly. Running. I
think sometimes they actually will like jump off of the build plate, like when it. Yeah, when sometimes mine will actually look like they've moved on their own. So, Midnight says you get 3 computers with VCAR. That's good to know.
Yes, you do. But
Rick said he's been making a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns. Maybe he made a Steve jack-o'-lantern, because that's what I was going to do today. I wanted to so bad, but
well, now I feel like we're going to have a little bit of a carve-off or something here.
Yeah. Hey, I started to do it. And I was like, no, I need to get this done because I got to have another surgery Friday. Because y'all know I've been hopping around on this knee that I thought, maybe it might be okay. Yeah, I went to the ortho guy the other day, and he said that it ain't going to get no better, that the tendon is just tearing daily more. So I've got to go Friday, and I'm going to get some Kevlar string to tie my tendon back together in my knee. So hopefully my leg will get back to normal, and I can actually squat with that leg. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be out of work for I know at least probably a week right after surgery, because I'm probably gonna be taking some stuff that's not gonna allow me to drive. So there may be some videos. Hopefully there won't be too many meds on board, so it won't be too bad of a video. But I just want to go ahead and throw it out there. If y'all guys watch any videos from like Friday on for about the next week, I may or may not be under the influence of prescription medication. So we're just putting that out there. Well, mine was because of a fall and a very bad twist. I actually have a partial tear on one of my quadriceps tendons. It's the one on the right side that connects to the back of your kneecap. I think he told me it was either 30 or 40% ripped, like loose. So that if it keeps tearing, eventually it's going to come completely loose, and I'm going to not have use of that muscle. So, and I am having some issues with my balance because that one muscle that's ripped loose, it's got slack in it. So it's definitely not. I definitely do not want to continue this way for the next 20 years. So we're going to go ahead and get that fixed. But hopefully it'll, if nothing else, maybe it'll get me some time to sit down and do some stuff on a computer, because that'll be about all I can do is sit here and play on a computer, design files. So there may be some Etsy shop uploads. Because I told Brandy I'm going to take my little RTV, my little buggy. I'm just going to park it right by the back door, so where I can literally just step off the porch onto the buggy, just like I did when I had my back surgery. That way I can come out here, get in my little roll around chair, and just build files and run lasers. So we'll see.
Well, I hope that goes well, and that the recovery isn't too bad. Although some under the influence videos will be interesting for sure.
Well, if it's too bad, I probably won't be on video, but we'll see. Well, Rick, it's okay. I haven't used it as much as I would have liked. I mean, I've used it a good bit, but like I did a couple of hundred bottle openers the other day, but it does great for like anodized stuff because it's like zoop and it's done. Just you can batch out stuff like crazy. It doesn't have a foot pedal, but it's got a foot pedal button on the front of it, so it serves the same purpose as a foot pedal, but it's this little button right there on the front of it, so it makes things quick. But yeah, hadn't got to use it as much as I would like to just yet. Maybe I'll work that in next week. And then tomorrow I got to go get my nerves checked in this guy. Yeah, nerve study. Yeah. We'll see.
You definitely sounding like a soon-to-be retiree.
Well, I'm falling apart, man. Falling apart.
Well, it seems typical at work is that as soon as someone says, "Yeah, I'm going to be retiring in a year," all of a sudden they're getting everything fixed up before they, they're off company insurance and such. So.
Well, I'm going to have the same insurance. It's just going to be through private sector. So everybody keeps telling me they hated the nerve test. I don't know what they're going to do to me tomorrow, but I'm really not sure I like it. Because it's about the fourth person that was like, that nerve test sucked. So I don't know what they're going to do to me, but all I know is they told me not to put any lotion on, which no danger of that anyway, but whatever.
Well, getting old's not for sissies.
Rick, actually, I finally got my parts in, so hang on.
You've run off randomly. What are you doing?
I'm looking for a bit. Hang on. I finally got it. So I finally got this in, so I think I'm about ready for my challenge coin now. Ha! Do you have one of those, Steve? Steve?
No.
Steve, do you have one? You don't have one of those?
No, but I got something cooler that I can show.
Oh, whatever. But that is a 30-degree downcut genie bit. It's been back ordered for months, and I finally got one. So I'm really pleased to finally get that guy, because doing 3D stuff, a 30-degree, especially a downcut, I think it'll work really, really nicely for what I'm wanting to do. So, but yeah. Dark Forest said it's needles with a current run through. Needles don't bother me too bad. I had that, what do they call, dry needling or whatever one time in my Achilles tendon. Because I ripped my Achilles tendon one time. And so they did that. They drove needles through my Achilles tendon, and they call it dry needling. I don't know what that, I don't know. It's like acupuncture, but different. So, but it was interesting.
I'm guessing they didn't apply electrical current when they were doing that, though.
No. But I do have a TENS unit that I use on my back occasionally.
Yeah,
And sometimes I get a little carried away with it.
Yeah,
It's like,
you can bump the power up on those a little too much at a time.
be sitting there going, ah!
Yeah. Well, well, you'll have to let us know how that goes.
Dark Forest, I have a disorder to where I have to know exactly where everything is. And I literally know exactly where everything is. Like, I can close my eyes and tell you where to go to get whatever you need in the shop. Except for I have a few random buckets that have random screws and stuff in it. But other than that, yeah. But yeah, my goal is to get me some brass, and I'm gonna make my own coin blanks with that guy. And may even try to do an engrave with it, and then do it with a laser, and see which one turns out best. But I'm looking at some other stuff too. We'll see.
You know, you can get pre-made blanks.
Oh, I know you can, but I want to make my own blank. That way I know what's in it. I know it's 100% pure. Now, I do got, hang on.
It's squirreled off again.
I'll be back.
Okay.
See, I have these. These are aluminum. See. These are aluminum blanks here. So, I'm going to play around with these a little bit. But yeah, my local machine shop, they let me come over there and dig through their scrap piles. I found these already in the shape of coins. They just need a little touch up. So, yep.
Well, I did order some actual solid brass coin blanks. They came in the other day, so I'm going to be playing around with those. I don't know that I have time to try to make my own.
Well, I figure why not, you know? 1/8 of an inch, zero flute. I mean, I guess I could probably do it with a 1/4 inch, because I'm not really doing anything but flattening them with the CNC. They're almost flat out already. But they've got like a little bit, like where they cut them off on the lathe, they got like a little bump right there. So, I don't know. We'll see. These are just for a rainy day. Mm-hmm. This rainy day project pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. It's nice when you can get scrap like that, cheap for testing and playing around. But I would just be trying to make a finished product on them, unless you're going to go past the surface. Getting that polished, clean surface would be kind of fun. So
Then I got some of this stuff. It's like plastic. Not sure. It's not going to be going to the laser because I'm pretty sure it's just random plastic. But good CNC material.
yeah,
And then my local CNC manufacturing place that I went and visited the other day. They have all kinds of stuff that they like literally have to pay to have it hauled off.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they have scraps. So I told them I would pay them. I told them I would pay them to let me to haul some of it off. This stuff supposedly is as hard as steel, but it's some kind of composite plastic. I don't know. He said that it's like 1,000 pound. Like if you tap it, drill it and tap it, it's supposed to be like 1,000 breaking pounds or something. I don't know. And then you seen the PVC that I got, didn't you?
Yeah. So it's a thing too is if people have like local sign shops, a lot of times they go through a lot of acrylic scraps and kind of the same thing. They gotta pay for a dumpster, and when it's filled up, they gotta pay to have it hauled off. So sometimes you can get it for free or at least really cheap from them, or if you're okay working with kind of offcut scraps.
Yeah, see, 3/4 inch PVC. I figured this would make really good outdoor like signage and stuff. Because it's plastic. It's not going to go anywhere. Or, who knows? Maybe I can make a birdhouse out of it. It would never warp or rot.
Mm-hmm.
And it would probably be pretty well insulated because it's plastic.
Maybe. So.
But yeah, been trying to get jobs out of the shop this week so that Friday, if things don't go as well as I hope they do, and I'm stuck in a recliner or something, I don't have jobs backed up. I still got a few stove covers and 3 cutting boards to do, but I should be able to get them done between now and Friday, hopefully. I'm going to come home in the afternoons and knock those out.
Cool. Well,
JT, I have no idea. They just told me that it was you could tap it and put bolts in it. I don't know. I didn't get the specifics. Oh, wait a minute. Joe Worrell said he makes mailboxes out of the 3/4 PVC. Sells about 150 of them a year. Hey, yeah, I guess that might be a thing.
how brittle does PVC get when it's frozen?
I don't know. Don't know. Why? Does it? You think PVC would freeze up there?
I'm just saying, mailboxes.
Technically, it's freezing temperatures at room temperature at least. It's technically frozen already. It's in a solid state.
I'm not sure that's accurate.
If you get it hot enough, it'll turn into a liquid state.
Well, yes, but there's solid state and then there's frozen. But
Oh me.
anyway, while watching my Vikings play today, I was doing some playing around more with the X-Tool F1. Finally attached the what are we calling it? The grocery conveyor.
the grocery store counter. Yeah.
And did a little cussing at it at the beginning because you got to go through the calibration. You've got to make sure first off that the laser itself is calibrated. And I think in the latest update of XCS, they added some additional calibrations because the blue and the IR laser, I think, had separate markings. I don't remember that the first time I ran through it. I thought it was just one crosshair. Now they had dual ones, but I could be mistaken. But I had to rerun through that. But was able to have some success. So I was running a test with, these little wooden coins, basically.
Yeah.
And doing the batch processing, and they're coming out okay for the most part. But as we've talked about before, as you move away, so the camera is actually towards the back of the laser, and as you move towards the front of it, they do get a little get a little more skewed. So you kind of see this one is definitely weighted more towards the bottom. But out of the 12 or so I ran, I would say the bulk of them, maybe 2 of them would be noticeably off, and the rest are okay for this project. Now, if I was doing, titanium coins, I'm definitely not going to run it through on this. I'm going to set up a fixture and a file or a reference file that I know where they're at. I'm also kind of curious. So every time it moves, it brings in a new batch of items. It has to identify them, and I'll have to run another test on this because I think the more items on there, the longer that process takes. So when I ran just one back in, it took a good 15 seconds for it to go through moving the next item in, detecting the item, doing its algorithm, and then starting up the laser again. So there's definitely some time there. But jury's still out on it for me on usefulness to cost. But I'm going to be doing a little more playing with that this week. See what I think of it.
Yeah, me personally, I still say that if you're wanting it to be able to do longer pieces, like a board sign or something, I think that is a viable use with pretty decent results. And I just so far none of the automatic placement of things has impressed me with any of the machines really. The P2 does okay at it. It's in my opinion better than I could get out of the conveyor. I could do out of the P2, but I'm just a diehard jig guy, and I'm very OCD. So if it's a 0.5 millimeter off center, my eyes will see it and it'll bug me. So it's not for the OCD ones among us because it'll irritate you.
I'm kind of the same way where for placement of items, if I'm doing a one-off, I'm going to frame it. I'm going to test it. If I'm doing multiples, make a fixture, set it up, know where the things are placed, use absolute coordinates, and know that it's going to be good. But it is cool to see the technology. It is cool to see them improving it. And I will say that when I took the time to really get this dialed in, really do the calibration, double, triple check the focus, because that's the huge thing on here is the focus. Now, it's nice that the whole thing's lifting up and down, so it will adjust for that once it knows where the height of that is. It's a lot closer than some, but yeah, I would still agree that trust it with a grain of salt. Double check some things. Even on when I did just the stationary static fill, I put about 5 of them on there. The placement, I went and checked before I burned it. The placement was pretty good on most of them, but I had to tweak a couple of them. And then, where the image was in the software after it was done burning, that's where it was. There wasn't kind of that offset that I see on some of the others. So it is getting better, but I still won't trust it.
Well, I still say they need more than one camera to be able to set up, basically, because you're trying to get a computer to have depth perception, and you can't really do that with one point of reference. You need at least 2. I think if they ever get to where they're using 2 cameras or either a 3 camera setup, I think that's when you'll see the ability to really utilize the technology. As far as the software for it to be able to recognize that shape and place it appropriately and stuff. Not only that, but shadows. I mean, if the lighting and stuff casts a shadow, there's a lot of things that it's having to do. And I'm not knocking it. I mean, the technology is pretty impressive to be able to do what it does, but it's going to take a lot of work for it to be perfect. Now, I will say, too, let's say you had 100 of something and others, and all you really wanted to do was put your little mark on the back of it or something, and your mark was significantly smaller than whatever it is that you're engraving, I don't think it would be noticeable enough to stand out. But like what me and you have done when you're trying to put something round on a round object, it's so easy to tell if it's not in the center. if it's remotely close to the same size as the object you're engraving. So I think within reason, certain things I think that thing could do, but it is improving. It is getting better, but it's still not something I want to use with a bunch of paid for blanks right now.
Yeah. So I plan to do a little more testing, and I'm probably going to create a few, make some of my own fixtures to be able to place some common items like, the business cards, maybe the dog tags, and try to run a little bit of a comparison between accuracy and speed of running it through on the conveyor versus, how many can I place in a fixture and run it that way, and then swap
Yeah.
them out. So we'll see how long that takes for me to do, but yeah, it's like I say, that's one of the reasons I like playing around with this technology is to see where it's at, give some feedback, and not let these companies stay stagnant. Even though I don't really care for the fight of the company who's like, oh, world's first, whatever. That doesn't mean anything to me other than, okay, you've done and you tried it. Now who can actually make it work well? It's kind of funny. That seems to be a thing with a lot of the Chinese companies. They want to be world's first, this, that, or the other thing, and it's not always accurate.
Yeah.
As far as who was the first out, and like I say, I don't care if you're first. Just make it the best. But
Yeah.
we will
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, Nate. Luckily, mine's due to an injury. My knee itself is actually okay. It's just that one tendon that got ripped. So it's not a matter of like wear and tear in this situation. Now my back, that's a different story.
Tim's asking, are we in the same time zone?
Yes, actually.
We actually are. Now, you're more on the eastern side of Central Time Zone, and I'm more in kind of the central part of Central Time Zone. So, and many miles of latitude between us. But no, we both have the same clock. So, just when I go down there and I jump over to Georgia, that's when I gotta flip the time over.
Yeah. Yeah, that trip to Georgia would get you.
Yeah, it does.
All right, it's 58 minutes. If you hadn't, hit that like button, guys, and go check out the laser engraving community page. If you're not a member, go sign up. That's where we shoot the breeze, share photos, answer questions, look at you guys' photos and projects and stuff. It's a pretty cool little group. We've managed to keep most of the spam bots out of there, even though they try.
They do be doing that.
Yep.
Rose Kindred's asking about the new Xtool P2S and wondering what they mean by mistake-proof mirror. Interesting terminology for it, but it's basically they've integrated a red dot alignment beam into the laser tube itself, and this isn't necessarily brand new. These have been around for a while, but so they've done it a couple different ways on different lasers. They either have a beam combiner or there's actually a module on the end of the laser tube, and it's going to fire a visible like a red dot laser pointer, and it'll bounce that through your mirrors. And so you can use that to do your alignment rather than put the tape on there, hit pulse, see where the beam hits, adjust, see where and rinse and repeat, which also risks leaving residue and smoke on your mirrors and such. This makes it much easier. You have that visible beam. You just kind of make your adjustments. You kind of see which way it's moving as you're doing it. And so it is a much easier way to do the mirror alignment on a laser. And if you are in the market for a laser, the Atom Stack one, now yours has that as well, right?
Yeah, the Atom Stack has the red. It is so much easier to line the mirrors up.
So if you're looking at a CO2 laser and that is an option, definitely go for it, because mirror alignment is one of the things. I've been doing it for years. I still get frustrated and have to walk away for 10 minutes and come back sometimes, just because little adjustments, you get it way off. You got to just kind of reset. But with having that visible beam, it's so much easier.
Yeah, the Hurricane, when I got it out of the box, of course, they tell you when you first get it out, check the lenses, make sure everything's lined up. And the Hurricane was it was a little bit out, so literally 5 minutes I had it working. The cool thing is, instead of having to get the tape and put over the mirrors and hit the fire button or whatever to make it pulse through, all you have to do is just look at you can literally look up in there at the mirror and move it until the dot is in the middle of the mirror. And then when you finally see it shining down on the material in the workspace, just move it throughout the workspace and make sure that you still have that red dot on the work area, and you're good to go. It took me like 5 minutes to get it set up, which is a lot quicker than my experience in the past.
Yeah, having that visible beam makes all the difference. Now, if you have an older laser that doesn't have that, you can sometimes get an upgraded tube for it, or there's a place out of Florida called American Photon. What is it? Hold on a second. American Photonics. Yeah, they have a reverse beam tool where you actually put the module into the tube where your focus lens would normally be, and you shoot it back towards the tube itself. And so there are kind of retrofit things for other lasers that will give you that similar functionality, but it's always nice when it's tied to the actual tube itself. So Dale Dub's asking, a lot of people deep engrave on river rocks with their fiber laser. Have either of you done it? Is it dustier than deep engraving aluminum or brass? I've played around with engraving on a variety of rocks, some with more success than others. In any case, yeah, this is an area where you definitely want to have an air extraction and preferably an air filtering system. This is one of the cases where I would recommend maybe getting one of those portable air units, because it's going to make a lot of fine silica dust, and that stuff is just horrible to breathe. And so you don't want that in your air system. You don't want to be dumping it outside. You really should be trying to trap that. But I've done it a little bit on slate with a couple of these. Actually trying to, I need to do a little walk around here, because where I live, we've got a couple of river valleys, and there's a variety of limestone, sandstone, as well as glacial stones that have been brought down many years ago. So, and as a matter of fact, later this week, I'll be up by Lake Superior and might be doing a little rock hunting along there. So, but definitely something that your air, with you're doing metal or stone or anything like that, it's going to create fine particulate that is just, you do not want that stuff in your lungs. So do what you can to set up a system to pull that in and not let it get all over your shop.
Yeah, I hadn't done a lot with rocks other than slate. I mean, there again, it's just not one of those things. I mean, it's cool and all, but not one of those things I get into, really.
Yeah, everybody, that's one of the fun things about being in a variety of these laser groups is you see some kind of unique ideas that, might not have thought it yourself, and fun stuff to try, but also gets to be kind of crazy when you're trying to test every idea under the sun.
Robbie's asking, has Adam Stack gotten any better with the customer service? I thought someone said it was hard to get in touch with them. Any of the Chinese companies, unless you stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be tough getting in touch with them sometimes. Most of them have an email address that they'll respond back to you relatively quick. But that's the one thing about these companies being overseas is there's a big time difference. So I haven't had to use Adam Stack's customer service on any of the other 5 Adam Stack machines I have. I haven't had any problems with them, so I really can't say for sure. But I can tell you that most all of these companies are going to be a little slow to respond at 12 o'clock noon our time.
Yep.
Chris said it's pretty easy if you're in the same time zone.
Yeah.
I guess it would be for Chris because he's like right there with him. He's
Well, I
like,
think the important thing is, do they get back to you? And
yeah,
that's where I think, even if there's that 12-hour difference, at least having them get back to you in a somewhat timely manner is what would be most important.
yep. I'm gonna walk over here for a second. I'll be right back.
Norbert's asking, what is everyone's preference on ornaments, painted or unpainted? Make both, but like the painted better, but like unpainted for traditional holiday or religious ornaments. Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of those personal preference things. The lazy part of me likes the unpainted because it's less work for me. But definitely being able to add the color and add some paint, when done properly, can look really nice. I've seen some really nice layered ones, and in some cases, you may want to play around with actually painting your material first, then cutting it out and gluing it together. That can help on some of the more detailed items. But just from a standpoint of work involved, uh, I always prefer if I can do unpainted over that. And I guess what you would say.
Whichever's cheaper.
Well, that, but you're not a painter, so
Oh yeah, rattle can, baby.
rattle can on ornaments could be a little tough sometimes.
No, just cut the pieces, cut the layers, set them on my little thing out there. Hit them with some spray paint, let them dry, and then glue everything together.
I like to make things that you can label as a DIY craft. So I'll cut out the parts, flat pack them in a box, and send it on their way to you. Let the person glue it up, paint it
Yeah.
up, do all that stuff themselves.
But yeah, like you said, sometimes it depends. Sometimes it is better to go ahead and just spray paint the material, then cut the pieces. Depending on what your look you're trying to go for. If you're wanting the color to go all the way around the material, then of course you got to wait till you cut it first. But either way, to me, whether you're using polyacrylic or some kind of other sealer, or whether you're using spray paint, the cost it's six of one, half a dozen of the other, because you're going to buy polyacrylic or you're going to buy spray paint. So sometimes I like to use like the glitter gold and stuff like that for accents for them. So like if I'm doing a ring around one and it's got a background, I may do like a gold accent ring and then maybe some black with a white background, but each layer will be spray painted individually. I have done it with the acrylic and the brushes, but that's the reason I'm going to get a nerve study done, is because my hands do not like painting little brushes. Glue's bad enough. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing I saw, I was at it's either Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I can't remember which one. But they had a pack of clear round acrylic ornament blanks, and they had, I think they were extruded though, because they had kind of the clear plastic coating on each side. But they were relatively inexpensive, and for diode users, that might be the thing where you could grab those, get yourself some, either the Cermark or other marking spray as well, or just tempera paint, and do some frosted clear acrylic ornaments that way that are pre-cut out. So it's worth taking a walk through those stores, and you can often find some items that can be easily customized that maybe would take longer, or you might not have the ability to cut out, and that customization can make you can usually buy a pack of them for say $5, and then you got 6 of them. You sell each ornament for $5 to $10 depending on your work into it, and make some decent money off that. So worth taking a walk through those stores.
Yeah, it just like I said, it depends on what you're into and what you're going for. The wood slash acrylic I think is pretty cool, but like I said, the more gluing, the more little small pieces you have to deal with, the more complex it gets. You start cracking into your profits at some point. Which here lately, like I said, other than the few that I take with me to events, I don't do a lot of ornaments unless it's like, hey, I want 100 ornaments for my company to give away to customers or send out with Christmas cards or whatever. I try to steer clear of just random ornaments to be generated.
Yeah. Going back to that rock conversation, Rick saying leave the rocks at parks for kids, and yeah. Now, if you're really devious, you would use do like a 3D engrave of a fossil, and then just go dump it at a few a few local parks, and maybe in some you got like a natural lake swimming area. Just put that along the shoreline, get some people wondering.
Yeah.
You Jared's mentioning
Yeah.
for ornaments also do sublimation. That's something I haven't really gotten into. I know a lot of people have enjoyed it, and that it would be, a way to make more decorative ornaments. But it's kind of a whole nother rabbit hole to dive down.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I enjoy creating stuff, but like I said, ornaments is not really high on my list of things that I'm doing this year. I do, like I said, for events, I've got a bunch of them that I've made up, and I've got some just generic ones that I can knock out real quick. I did a batch of them the other day, painted ones, and those are, like I said, they're cool to have, but I like the custom stuff better than I do generics. Generics, you're not going to get the money out of generics that you will out of custom pieces. Like, let's say you've got a company that's an electrical company, and that electrical company wants to send out, like was it last Christmas? I think it was. They did tumblers. They like wanted a tumbler with their company logo on it to give to all their big, like company customers. And so it's like, hey, we want 100 tumblers, this color with our logo on it. I love those jobs because it's cookie cutter, like bam, 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 bam. Once I get it set up, I can literally just sit over there on the S1 or right here on the MK2 and just hit the button, send it, send it, send it, send it. So I like those better than I do. Okay, I'm going to make 100 ornaments and hope that somebody buys them, because then you end up with 80 ornaments year after year after year after year that nobody's buying. Like the other day up at Pedals from the Past, I had some stuff that I'd been riding around in my trailer for 2 years, and people's like, hey, oh, that's cute. How much for that? And I'm like, hey, we're letting that go half price today. Take it with you. And just to get rid of it, because I had literally been hauling it around for like 2 years. So, those are things you have to consider. Is if you don't know that it's going to sell, be prepared to ride it around for a couple of years. Load it and unload it for a couple of years, because that's what's going to end up happening if it doesn't sell. Because you don't want to just throw it away because you actually have, materials and time tied up in it.
Yeah, it's a tough call. There's a market for everything, but you want to find that balance between, it works best to try to find something that might be regional, that is a little bit on the unique side. But if you make it too specific, like 2024, if you don't sell it this fall, this winter,
Yeah.
it's going in the fireplace probably. So it's a balance, but there's a lot of people who they want their 2024 ornaments, and so that's if you can figure out some way of having a few and then maybe taking orders, so you're not left with a lot of stock, or price it to the where one pays for four, and if you're left with a few, at least you're not out. But yeah, it's definitely, you got to learn your market and try to gauge, and no matter what you do, you're gonna you'll be understocked for something that sells really well and overstocked for something else.
Yeah, well, the cool thing about having the A24 on my event booth is if somebody says, "Hey, this is my baby's first Christmas," because those, sir, those you do want to make, because they'll come up there and go, "Hey, this is my baby's first Christmas. I want to get an ornament made for my baby. Can you do this?" And I'm like, "You just want one?" Yeah, absolutely. And they'll tell me what they want on it, and I'll sit there, and if I have time, I'll go ahead and draw it up and let them watch the screen, my little TV up there, and be like, "Okay, is this what you want?" And they're like, "Yeah," and I'll go ahead and send it. But if not, I'll have them, just give me the text that they want on there, the designs, and then I'll come up with it, and then get their phone number or something, and just text them a picture while they're at the event, and go, "Hey, is this what you want?" And they're like, "Yes," and then I'll burn it when they come back by. They pick it up, So that's one reason why I always take a little bit of materials and glue and stuff with me to events. Now, in that kit situation at an event, it's not going to be painted. It's going to be simply engraved and hit with a little polyacrylic, because I can spray a little polyacrylic up underneath my table and not just fume everybody, because it's not like spray paint where it's going to just be drifting everywhere. So it's definitely that market, like baby's first Christmas, or hey, we just got married, we want a Christmas ornament for our tree that has both our names on it, or those memorable special event type things, like first Christmas type ornaments. Because 15-20 bucks, they'll shell that right out if you'll do exactly what they want, because it's completely custom and they can't get it done nowhere else. Because if they go on Etsy to try to buy it, they got to pay like 15 or 20 bucks plus shipping, all those other things, and then wait and hope that it shows up by Christmas. That's the reason I get a lot of the jobs I get. People are like, "Hey, I'd rather you do this and pay you a little more than take a chance on this Etsy shop not doing it correctly." I had a lady the other day that asked me about doing a pet memorial thing, but she had ordered it from Etsy and they misspelt something on it and wouldn't make it good or whatever, and so she wanted me to take it and like sand it down and redo it, and I'm like, I can't, because it was a piece of granite. I'm like, I can't do that. So I end up catching a lot of jobs because people don't want to take a risk with Etsy shops that they're not familiar with.
Well, and you gotta, that's where you hope you end up is, you get enough out there where people know what you're doing and they're going to come to you, and keep that in mind. When you're first starting out, you're probably going to be making some items just to be your portfolio. You're probably not going to make any money.
Oh yeah.
But hopefully, as people get an idea of who you are and what you can do, at that point, they're going to come to you with the ideas, and don't think you have to undercut that price online. I mean, there is that convenience factor. There's that trust factor. Make sure it's worth your while. I mean, don't gouge it and just try to look for it, but make it worth your while. And I know I'm bad about this with some people too. I've had customers tell me, I'm like, "Oh, you're not charging me enough." I'm like, "Well, I'm happy with what it is. If you want to tip me on top of that, it's fine. That's your prerogative, but don't put yourself in a position where you're trying to undercut every option online just to get the business, because you might get the business, but you won't be making money."
Yeah. Well, and that's, like I said, a lot of people would rather have that personal connection as somebody that they know that's in the community or whatever, and have that thing made. So it has its advantages for sure.
Nope. So yeah, Jared, that M1 Ultra, that multifunction machine, you can print on items and then you can cut them out. I'm still trying to get it all worked out and figure out the flow of it. It's not a high production machine. This is definitely a one-off kind of item. So if you're going to be making a lot of something, there's other ways to do it faster and more effective. But for doing some of those one-offs, yeah. But there's also limits to the thickness of the material as far as what you can print with. Now they do have the riser base, so you can make some adjustments to that. But I still need to play. I need to play with it a little bit more, because I'm trying to figure out The kind of the use case for this item outside of, the person who just wants to have fun and crafts. It's been labeled as a cricket killer by a lot of other reviewers, and I'm like, I mean, maybe depends on your use, because I think, as I've said before, these kind of all-in-one machines, you generally are sacrificing something, and a lot of times it's, yes, it can do everything, but doesn't do any one of them really well per se. It does them all okay. So that's where I'm trying to get a good feel for it.
Yeah, it's kind of like trying to field dress a deer with a Swiss Army knife.
You can do it.
Yeah. you can use a Swiss Army knife to do that, but it's not the best suited knife for that.
Yeah.
So, it's, and like you said, if you had a limited workspace, low volume, just doing it to have fun, and you wanted one machine that you could get familiar with and do all of those different things, then I think that's where it would fall. Well, Norbert, I can't take in too much caffeine because I gotta get up in the morning. I don't know what it is about me sitting in this chair, but the minute I sit in this chair and quit moving around, it just starts hitting me. But I can't be drinking a lot of caffeine right now. I need to get me one of them treadmill tables when my knee is better.
Get a sit-stand desk at least.
Well, I mean, technically I can stand, but then I'm like right up here, So I can stand like this, I guess. I can stand like this. Yeah. But right now my knee is kind of like messing with my back, and so it's just like this whole right side is just jacked.
I've actually thought about that, but I'm not sure, which shop area I'd want to do that in. But getting one of those lifting desks, the ones with the little more oomph to them, and I've got this nice supply of wood here, and making a desktop out of it, and so that I could raise and lower it, because as nice as this, overly expensive stool is that I've got, there are times that I'd much rather be able to stand up than sit here too long.
Broken Spur Creation says Texas checking in. What are some good woods for plaques that engrave well? Been using Spanish cedar. Thanks. Me and Steve differ on this one there, fellas. I don't have it engraved. I had it engraved, but I took the engrave off of it when we decided that it wasn't the right one. But this stuff right here, it's awesome. This is red oak. And if you know how to engrave it, it engraves really well. It looks really nice. So, Steve doesn't like red oak.
Well, that's just as a principle. I don't like red oak. It doesn't have to be for factor engraving.
But whatever you get, grain is very important regardless of the wood, unless you get something that has very minimal grain. So you don't want a knot in anything that you're going to be like engraving an image or something like that. You want as straight a grain as you can get, and that's hard to get sometimes unless you get the really premium wood. I have had some pretty good luck at Lowe's and Home Depot with the Select, which is it's not the premium, but it's not the junk either. If you pick through there, you can find those boards that have relatively straight grain, don't have a lot of cathedral grain or anything like that in them. Those work best for that kind of stuff, in my opinion. And it does take color good, but be careful if you're going to be going anything other than whitewash with it, because with oak, you got to get your settings just right to get a darker engrave. Being out of focus is definitely a plus. And I'm finding, too, that even with the Hurricane, it still helps me to raise the focus about 2 or 3 millimeters to get color in some of the lighter woods.
Yeah. No, my thing with red oak is it's been overused, and I don't care for that high contrast grain look that it tends to have. Now, white oak, I don't mind as much. But that's not quite as readily available in quality wood. So, as far as engraving stuff, my personal favorites are more, leans towards like cherry. A nice
That's a good one.
smooth grain on that. It tends to give a decent contrast, and I just like the tone of it. So, but some of that's going to depend on sometimes the rest of the look of the plaque. Sometimes that'll lead you to one material or another. But yeah, I tend to try to stay away from the heavy contrasting grain woods.
The maple does pretty decent. If you can, but now they like maple. That's the thing with the oaks. Red oak is probably going to be, as far as the look, it's probably going to be one of your more affordable woods when you get into the hardwoods. Because like maple and even cherry, to get nice grain cherry and maple, you're going to spend a little bit of money on it, unless you just get lucky. But yeah, poplar and then magnolia, if you can find any, is awesome for engraving. It engraves black. The wood itself is like white and gray, and it engraves black, which is just insane. So yeah, it's a good wood. The only reason I have it is because I cut one on my meal, and I think did you took some pieces of it home with you, didn't you? Yeah, I think you still got some of it somewhere.
It's still drying. Just take a look at it.
As I say, I know you've got some of it, so. Yeah, maple. You have different maple. I don't know how familiar you guys are, but you have like what they call a hard maple and then a soft maple. They burn differently and they finish differently. But either one, I've had pretty decent luck with using it with lasers.
So this is one of the pieces. This one was a little more spalted than we had hoped, but as a matter of fact, I'm almost seeing some rays in here as well. So that'll be interesting getting that sanded out. But yeah, it's a very light wood, similar to maple, but like you said,
it's surprisingly hard once it dries. You wouldn't think it would be because it's actually a member of the poplar family. But magnolia, when it hardens, when it dries, it gets pretty hard. So. Rick's asking, do we have the longer nano? I have a longer nano pro. I don't have it with me. They sent it out about 6 months ago when they were first kickstarting the thing, and I reviewed it. Buddy of mine that makes cutting boards, that's all he does is he has a CNC. He makes cutting boards in little small, like catch trays and stuff like that here locally. He was using a branding iron to put his logo on the back of his cutting boards. And his branding iron, like, I guess, got too hot too many times and cracked, like his little emblem. And so he uses the nano now to mark all of his stuff because you just set it on top of the material, and like he's got the app on his phone and just puts his logo on stuff with it. So I have one, but I don't have it in the shop. He's using it for his logo stuff because he asked me about a laser and he's like, all I want to do is put my logo on something. So I'm like, well, this actually would work really well for what you're wanting. And so far, I guess it has because he hadn't brought it back yet. He's had it for a couple months now.
Yeah, they reached out to me about that one, but I turned it down. Just got too many other things going on, and I feel like I've had a number of the Galvo style lasers, and just being a blue diode Galvo wasn't unique enough for me to throw another one up. So didn't want to overload myself with yet another machine.
Yeah. Not a lot is asking recommendation on leather with the P2. Please, even after I do material test, I still can't find good settings. I'm a newbie to lasers. That's material test is the secret. I mean, there's no. It's especially leather. Leather is one of those that you can have one batch of leather that burns really easy and one batch of leather that burns really hard. It's an organic material, and therefore there's going to be a lot of variations in it. It's not like man-made materials where it's going to have consistent, densities and all that kind of stuff. It's going to vary.
I haven't, excuse me, I haven't done any leather with my P2 yet because I haven't had a honeycomb for a while, and having it on the rails just wouldn't work too well. So I might have to try that now that I've got that aftermarket Dofiki honeycomb in there. Well, support stuff.
I did some leather on the Hurricane the other day, which
Yeah.
led me to determine that whoever was in charge of airflow dynamics at Adam Stack got like a C in that class.
I, I have a feeling that that's a pretty common trait amongst most of the desktop. These all-in-one compact desktop CO2 lasers.
See that? See right here under my fingers?
Yeah.
You see what that is?
Yeah.
That's holes all the way across the front of this thing. Yeah. Ah! Somebody miscalculated how much air was going to naturally get into the machine, and so they opted to put all these holes across the front of this crumb tray, and it was too much. It was not maintaining negative pressure inside the machine. It was letting some of the fumes and stuff come out from here. So a little bit of painter's tape, which I've reached out to them and let them know that this is an issue. And so far, I've pointed out 2 things that I think they could improve. And so far, they've sent me back an email and said, "Hey, we've taken your idea and done this. We've taken your idea and done that." So I suspect they will also take my idea and either take these holes out or put a damper in there. I told them either get rid of them or put a damper, like a slide damper in here, to where if you have a 4-inch fan or something, you could open it and get more flow. But I don't know. We'll see. But me personally, I bad idea. It was okay. I kept noticing it. I could slightly smell burnt wood with it running. But when I put the leather in there, oh my gosh. I was like, yep, something's got to give.
Yeah, well, make sure they get all those worked out for when they send all the production ones out.
Well, so far they're telling me, they've told me, because I had put a couple of things in my video and I was like, this could be better. I think they should do this, and then and they emailed me and were like, hey, just let you know, we took your idea, which was pretty good, and we added this and we did that and we moved this, and so far they've been pretty open. I'm kind of hoping that maybe once they get all the get the production model machines ready, maybe they'll replace mine, but I doubt they will. I doubt it. But so far, I like it. I think
Cool.
I think the final run is going to be a really cool machine. But all that was the fan just, you know how it is. It was moving air because I went outside and I put my hand over the hose outside and it's blowing plenty of air. So I'm like, well, it's not restricted. So I come back in there and I come back inside and started looking around, and I'm like, wait a minute, what are all these holes doing here? And so I grabbed me some green tape, put over it, did some leather again. Didn't have any, you could stand over the top of it and tell I was doing leather, but it wasn't bad. But then I started cutting acrylic for like 2 days. I'm just shredding acrylic and didn't have any problems with the smell getting to the shop. So my piece of painter's tape seems to be working pretty well. Let's see, where are we at? Is he talking about, Rick, you talking about the Nano or whatever? It's okay. The little sling bed, not a fan. Which, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really not a fan of any of the sling beds, X tools included. The Chuck looked good, but I didn't have much luck with it. But just the Nano, used it as a flat engraving machine, whether it be in LightBurn or their app. By itself, it worked great. I just didn't like the attachments. It was a little too many macros, and just the one that I got was a little troublesome. Trying to run it with LightBurn with the attachments, so they kind of lost me with that. But just running the machine by itself with LightBurn was fine.
Yeah, that's becoming more and more of an issue with some of these. Is that while they may or may not have LightBurn compatibility, how effective it is. As they get more complex, do more proprietary things.
Well, and here's my thing too. If you're going to create a macro, to enable something, name it something that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because sometimes these macros, you click it and what it does sounds nothing like what it's labeled. Like it'll be like engrave mode. Okay, what is engrave mode? Well, that's actually just the machine. That is standalone mode. It's not engrave mode. It's standalone mode. You know, and it's just some of the things that they name some of this stuff. It just blows my mind. It's like, why did you not use a word that made a little more sense? But
Well, it's nice
just like with the
it's translated into English.
yeah.
I've had some where they send me that file, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what any of these are.
Yeah, like the hurricane. I turned and I wish they'd have named it the rain, like instead of. But they had the active fire suppression on and active fire suppression off at a macro. They should have put call in the rain. You know what I mean? Turn off the rain because it's a hurricane. It has rain, but I'm not going to be adding the little bucket of water to mine. So I've got the flame detection, flame suppression turned off on it. But you could actually add like a little bottle of water to this thing, and when the flame alarm goes off, it switches. It like turns a little valve over so that the air assist actually sucks water out of the little reservoir and sprays it through the nozzle through the air assist, which seems like to me it's just instantly going to crack your lens when it does that. Far as the electronics goes, there's no electronics down in that part of the machine except for one limit switch that lets you know if the crumb tray is not secured or not. So there's not much risk to the electronics if it goes off, but it just seems like that focusing lens that's right there, right above it, just seems like it's just in a bad, if it's got any heat whatsoever in it, and that water hits it, it seems like it would pop it.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't have any heat on it.
It shouldn't. I get that.
Yeah, as long as they turn the laser off before the water hits it, it shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, I saw that feature, and I mean, it's less expensive than CO2 cartridges that as leaky as these machines are,
Yeah.
and as much, air exhaust as you have on them, I question how well they'd work, and coupled with the false positives of that was a flame detection when it was just sunlight or something else. I don't know, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It seems like a more user friendly way to.
I mean, it's not a bad. I don't think it's a bad approach, but I will tell you this: the flame alarm went off on me when I first got it a couple times when I was doing some speed tests, which it probably did see a little small flame lick up because I'm doing speed tests. So I disabled it, but I'm always like right here with the machines, so I just went ahead and disabled it. But I kind of want to put some water in there and test that, but I'm like, my luck will crack the lens. And then I'll be minus a lens. So I may have to talk to him and be like, hey, can y'all send me a couple of extra lenses where I can try this just in case?
I'd be curious what kind of lenses they're using. If they're, I can't imagine they've gone out and designed their own lens. So hopefully they're something that's
it looks a lot like what traditionally you're used to in the like the K40s and some of the other machines.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't look that much different. Matter of fact, I think I have a set of mirrors and lenses in my box that I could measure and look at it. But I do know that the focusing lens is, like I said, it's pretty standard, about the size of a dime. It doesn't look too big.
You're not out that much if that gets cracked. You just want to make sure you have some on hand. So.
Yeah, I think it came with one or two extras, maybe. But we'll have to see if that's.
Plus, that should be a way to fix your. And I guess I'd be curious about that if they have their autofocus. Part of the features of most CO2 lasers is being able to swap out for different focal lengths, and that would get you your further distance from your nozzle that you're wishing for.
So. Yeah, but then you would have to go into the software and reprogram the macros for the focus. Well, if you change the length,
reprogramming a macro is I mean, to be able to get the benefit of.
No, I'm talking about inside the controller because whatever they're not using a macro per se. It's using a command. What is that? ESP 500 or whatever command. So there's some settings somewhere in that controller for the touch offset and all that. But I'm really not a fan. I'm hoping that they improve the little foot. It's so far it hasn't caused me a problem, but I wish it. I wish that little foot because it's got a foot that comes down with the nozzle. I wish the foot would like retract up further in a way. Which, to be honest with you, I wish the whole thing would retract up about 10 more millimeters, and I'd be happy. But we'll see. We'll see if they change it. Like you said, maybe there is a way. Maybe in the future they would change that lens out and send out a firmware update to adjust it, and then you could have more of a standoff. That would be awesome if they did.
So did you want to talk about that question you had on the screen, or
which one was that? Which one was up there?
You put that one up there, but you were yeah.
I've always used the longer lasers since I've started this adventure a year ago. I have 4 now. Business is great. Would y'all try different brands? My thought on that is if you're happy with what you got and you're happy with what they're doing, I mean, there's really not a reason to change per se, unless let's say a company has something that longer doesn't offer. I wouldn't like rule it out either. I've got a longer 30 watt. What is it? The B1, I think it's called. And it's a good machine. It runs great. It does a good job. I like it. That and that little Nano is the only 2 longer machines I've ever had. But that one I ran as my primary for a while. So I like it.
Yeah, especially with the longer, basically you're using LightBurn to it's not hard to switch to another laser. But it kind of depends on your situation. If you're the person that likes to play around and experiment with new things, sure. If you want some consistency or backup parts because you're actually doing this legit business, then you might want to stick with what you've got. If you've got jigs set up, you got an enclosure set up, things like that. It's kind of nice to stick with something stock.
All right, there's your one, Steve.
What's that?
Question about a planer. Says got the green light to get a planer. Want to know what you have? I think you have you got one of them fancy ones, don't you? What planer are you running?
It's a DeWalt 735X. It's probably if you're looking at the basically your hobbyist garage workshop planer. The DeWalt 735X is kind of the biggest you get without going to like a floor standing unit, from one of the other retailers. And it's pretty nice. It's got about 13 inches of width. It's got 2 speeds to it. You can get helical heads for it and such. It actually has an active blower to move your chips out of the way. I used to have more of a lunchbox style, and this one I'm much happier with this one. But the price.
I think we have the same one. Do you remember when you were down here? Mine's the 2. It's got the 2-speed with the blower built in the back of it and everything.
Yeah, that's the 735.
Okay. I don't have the helical blade on it right now. I'm still running the old straight blades.
That's an aftermarket, and there's a lot of people say you get a better finish with it, and it's quieter, but you actually do. It will pull the amp draw up just a little bit more. So if you're looking at a planer and you're looking at doing that helical head upgrade, just know that while it is quieter and probably a better finish, it'll draw a little more power when running one of those. But no, I like that one. I'm very happy with it from a hobby standpoint. Obviously, I'd love to have something wider at times because there's that 5% of the time it's not big enough. So, but as far as something that's relatively inexpensive and useful, that's one. I've got it actually on. You can't see it now, but I've got it on a folding a rigid chop saw cart, like a dolly that folds out, stands up. So
Well,
move it around.
I built my little table. I've actually got mine under the bottom of the table. You have to bend over to use it, but most of the stuff that I plane is small, like just little small pieces of boards for a plaque or something like that. So far it hasn't created me any problems, but I am tapped out for space. So
Anything that small, I just throw on the CNC at this point.
well, not really. I mean, it's because I could run it through that thing about 2 or 3 passes in the time that it would take me to adhere it to the
But
bed
you
of the
got to
CNC.
deal with the snipe on each end and such, and then it's just. And if it's not perfectly flat, then you're just planing in a curve to it as well. That's why I throw it on the CNC.
No, the stuff that I'm putting on there is typically already flattened, at least on one side. But now the big stuff that's too wide for the 13-inch planer, yeah, the CNC is where it ends up. That's the one reason that I went and got the 4 foot by 4 foot is because, like, if I take a piece of slab or something off of my sawmill, if I've got a 21-inch piece of wood that's 21 inches wide and I want to make like a little table out of it or something, there's not a planer that I got access to that I can run that through. I can do the best I can with the sawmill and then dry it and run it back through the sawmill to try to flatten it out a little bit, but we'll see. So I'll wind up usually just throwing it over there and run it at least flattening it out that way.
Yep.
Oh, y'all killing me. Hey, I can't help it. Y'all know I got a tool addiction.
Yeah, Brian, he was talking to me about another CNC the other day too. I told him he doesn't have space for it.
I will have eventually.
Okay.
I'm building me a shop, man. I got to build me another shop when I retire. I might even get me one of them fancy sanders like you got, one of them belt sanders that you can just like slide your material through, and it's like a planer, but it's a sander. So I don't have one of them. Yeah, I don't have one of them.
That would definitely be one of those luxury items because they tend to be ridiculously expensive for what they do. But they are, they're very nice to have when you need it. So.
Oh, have you seen that the sanding setup for CNC yet?
I've seen people do that. Yeah.
I saw one the other day. They're selling it now. It's like spring loaded, so it tensions it and all that, and it's like basically kind of like a random orbital type setup. The way it runs, it's seemed interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seemed like it'd make a freaking mess as far as dust goes.
Yeah. I don't know. I that's one of those things. Unless you're running it through a machine that's got rollers to hold it nice and flat, I still feel like you're gonna, spring load or whatnot, you're gonna be asking for some weird swirl marks and such.
Yeah. But yeah, Brian, I'm gonna one day hopefully get me another shop. I got my eye. I think I've about landed on a. I think I need a 30 by 50. I think that'll do me. I think that's my goal.
It's a pretty good size.
I think it'll work for what I want because see, I'll still have some stuff will stay here.
For Brandy's shack.
Yeah. Well, she'll have this side, the other side, or well, she'll have one side or the other. I think the other side is going to be where the boat goes.
See, I feel like every time we talk about this, her space shrinks.
She said that the other day. She's like, by the time you actually get your other building, I'm not going to have any space in there.
Yeah, she's going to have that little like nook where the cats go up to sleep.
Yeah. Is the Monport air assist control the light burner is always on? Depends on which Monport you're talking about. If it's one of the K40s, it's going to be a manually operated air assist from my experience, unless they've changed something. What says you, Steve?
Depends on what machine we're talking about, I guess. Some of their bigger CO2s would have it. It's depending on the controller, you can add it, but like the desktop unit, no, it's completely separate. Jack carved an 8x8 2-inch thick purple heart block into a bowl the other day. An entire shop is purple. Yeah, I can imagine.
Well, I will say this. My dust collection is on point. Like, I don't have especially now that I bought this new DeWalt sanding thing that I've got for my sander, my dust situation is much, much better. Like, I still got dust, but it ain't nowhere near what it was. Like, I haven't even wiped off the MK2 this week, and you can actually see through the top of it. It doesn't look like it got snowed on. So,
yeah.
But the with the setup that I've got on my CNC and the Shopsmith dust collection, yeah, it's doing jam up. Brandy was out here today, and I was cutting out some of this stuff, and she was like, I must say, your dust collection works pretty well. And I told her, I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good investment, wasn't it? Of course, she didn't respond yes or no, but yeah.
Cool.
He says a Monport 40 watt. That's going to be the K series or M series.
Yeah, no, that. I think I was even looking at the board at one point, and I don't even know that it has a spare port to be able to run relay for the air. So I'm pretty sure it's all manual. Because it doesn't even. Well, it does have air assist, but yeah, I think it's just manual. Unless they've changed it, which they could have, but.
yeah, y'all better watch it. Ask Steve. I'll put you on the sawmill. I'll put you to work. Oh, because when I do get my new building, that's the one thing I've talked to a buddy of mine that he's still heavy into the sawmilling right now. He's got his own kiln up and running. I bumped into him at the event the other day, and I told him, I was like, hey, I may have to just call on you and buy some stuff from you and give your business some money, because I'm going to be too busy to cut that much wood. But I want to do my new shop with the same type, like just, the pine boards on the wall on the inside, just like I did this one. But so I'm going to probably end up letting him cut it for me, because he bought a brand new LT70 with a remote control station and all that the other day. He said he could cut enough wood to do that in just a matter of like half a day with that new mill. So I may partner with him and let him help me out with that, because he's trying to get his business spun up for retirement too. So I may try to help him out a little. Be one of his first customers.
Just rubbing in that retirement, huh?
Well, I mean, it's only like 370 so days or so. 370 something days. So, I mean, I can't help it, Steve. I'm trying to find me a sign to put back there that flashes how many days I got left. Just flashing back there somewhere.
Uh-huh.
I ain't found it yet.
Well, take your time.
Which one would you recommend, the 70 watt or the CO2? I don't know which machine you're talking about. The Atom Stack? It depends on what you're going to be doing with it. If a 12 by 20 work area, as far as engraving area, is not what you need, then you may want to go with the 70. The 70 does have a 500 by 400 work area. So it's a little bigger work area, but you're back in the diode materials and stuff. So no clear, no glass. And so far, this thing does a really good job on clear and glass. My wife has some more of that Pyrex stuff that we bought here a while back. So I plan to do one of them on it to see how well it does on the glass dishware. But I hadn't got around to that yet. I'm supposed to be getting the riser for this one. They wanted to send me that conveyor thing, which their conveyor is more like a sling, like a bed that slides back and forth instead of a roller. It looks like it would work pretty well, but I don't got room for it. And I emailed them and I'm like, hey, look, as far as this like bed extension or whatever you got, I really don't have room for it. So, just send me the roller and the riser and let's just call it done. But they're supposed to be sending riser, roller, bed, and air purifier. But I don't know. I've already got it vented, so I don't know what I'm going to do with the air purifier. But we can hook it up and run it for a day or two.
Well, if it's like any of the others, that's about all you'll get out of it before you got to change filters. So,
well, what I would like to see with this one, and I'm going to see, I'll see when it gets here, and if it's not on it, I may talk to them about it, is either have it to where it has like a 4-inch or 3-inch output hose, or have it to where you can swap it out, take like the discharge grid off of it and snap one into it so that you could use it to filter, but then still exhaust out a window if you lived in an apartment or something. You know what I mean? I would like to see these companies go to that for some of the folks that, maybe they're not really worried about, venting back into the house, but they just want to take the edge off of it so they're not blowing it, out on the balcony and their neighbors having to smell it or whatever.
Most of the ones I've looked at do. I mean, they've got an inlet and an outlet. They just aren't necessarily a 4-inch one. They're usually 3-inch on most of these. So there's a way to do it. I mean,
well, I haven't seen theirs. I haven't seen theirs yet. That's what I'm kind of curious if they're going to have that. It would be nice if they did.
Yeah, I don't hold my breath on any of these. They're trying to make them affordable, but affordable with air filtration for lasers is not synonymous with working very well. So,
Chris, I don't have a way of checking the watt output on it. I don't have a gauge or anything. But typically speaking, from what I see in their specs, most all companies are going to have it. That's going to be the peak output instead of the average from what I've seen. I don't know. They may have it hid somewhere in the paperwork somewheres. But I will say compared to other machines, I mean, it's definitely capable of the 55 watts because it's very competitive to the 55 watt range as far as I can tell, but without some kind of scientific measurement device, I have no way of knowing for sure. You could look at what they put in their literature if they specify, but probably they're not going to specify. But from my experience in pretty much anything electronic, they're always going to give you the best case scenario measurements, which is going to be the peak output. It's kind of like Ford and Chevrolet. They're going to give you the peak horsepower. They're not going to give you the sustainable horsepower for 5 hours. It's going to be peak horsepower. That's just the way people do business.
Well, there also should be on the tube, there should be a kind of a label of where it was tested and the ratings and everything on it. So it should say like, so many watts at so many milliamp.
Didn't see it, but I didn't go up under the bottom of it either. Let me look at the video. I got some pictures of it where I took it apart. Let me see if I can see a sticker. I didn't see a sticker, but there again, I really wouldn't mess it around in there a whole lot either.
Yeah, it would be nice to know, and also look at the diameter and the dimensions of it to see what nothing worse than having a proprietary tube that you can only buy from them.
What did I do in that video?
Pat, on the Atom Stack one that I extended, they brought they included a wiring kit. So I think the worst part about that was just getting the wires run in and out of the little control box itself. There's not a lot of extra space in there, but other than that, it was pretty simple. Just redoing some of the cable management and getting the plugs in, which they're all labeled. They're pretty simple to do. So I wouldn't say that was very difficult at all. And Brian, those are calendar days, not work days. He really likes to tease that out because it's basically out what October 1st of next year.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it's all right.
I don't guess I did
I
keep the
talked to
video.
a realtor.
I don't guess I did keep the pictures. I took a couple pictures of it. I either misplaced them or didn't keep them or something. So I'm not seeing them. I'll go back in there next time. I'll look and see. But
All right. Well, we just rolled over 2 hours. 9 p.m. here in Central Time that we both sit at.
yeah. Rick, we do giveaways occasionally, but most of my stuff goes to local schools and local people, local makers around here. I've got 3 people that currently do jobs that I don't have time for, that are my overflow. They have, right now, they all have CNCs, they have lasers, they have fiber lasers. So any job that I get, like I've got these things right here that I'm working on this design and getting these things produced, getting it approved. Once I get this approved and get to go ahead for the orders, this will be something that probably Klein, because this is a CNC job, and right now Klein's ahead of the game on the rest of them as far as working CNCs. So Klein will probably be the one to be turning these out and making the money off of them, not me. I'll just outsource. Like these guys that are here local make all the money. I just design the file. Now, I'm not going to say that file might not end up on my Etsy shop, but I send them to work. Clyde's been helping me for about 2 years now, and he's basically using it to substitute like extra expenses for, he's got a kid in college and stuff like that, and he's been using the money he makes to substitute paying for stuff for him. And then Bill's just getting started good. He's doing a little bit of stuff, but he's still in that phase. Y'all know how it is where you're making stuff to give to people and you're making stuff, just to be making it. He's still in that learning phase. And my niece, who was over here this week, taking some lessons and picking up some new equipment. She's down in South Alabama, down around Troy. She's a stay-at-home mom that does homeschooling, and she's got a machine that she's learning how to use, doing stuff for her church and homeschool folks and stuff like that. So I keep my machines working, but I keep them so that if I need it to come in and test a theory or test something, I can make a phone call and have them back here if I need to. But for the most part, like I said, last year I think I gave 6 or 7 machines to schools. So it's not as much. It's not as easy for me to be getting like shipping out a bunch of stuff by the time because I'm not keeping a box for 6 months until I get all the use out of a machine. I don't like to just bring a machine in, use it one time, and then do a review. I like to use them. A lot of them, I put them in service and run them for 2 or 3 months before I call it. So it's a little more complicated. Now there are some that I get them in, like me and Steve's done a couple of them to where we get them in with the intentions of mailing them back out, where I have to put the box up and keep it. The ASMR P1S we did here a while back. And we've got some other ones coming up that we're going to do for different things, but I got enough people close to me that I keep in supply. Michael, that's my niece. What does she call her website? Kayla's Creations. My niece basically has gotten into it. I don't remember what her website is, but her name's Kayla, and she's just piddling right now. She's only been doing it about 4 months, but she saw some of the stuff I do, and she's like, hey, I would really like to do that. So I gave her one of the bare bones machines that I could, told her to learn it, figure out how it works, and I'll upgrade her. And so that's what she's doing. But I don't know what her website is called. But anyway, I'll have to find out. But she's just mostly doing like Bibles, engraving Bibles for people, putting their names on them and stuff like that right now. Simple little one-liner stuff. She's made a few files and stuff, but brand new to it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 10 seconds. Last questions, comments, concerns? Anybody want to compliment Steve on his hat? But anyways, it's going to be a long week, surgery Friday, so if y'all don't hear from me for a couple of days, just know that I'm somewhere sitting in front of a TV eating Tylenol extra strength or something. So.
All right. Well, it's getting late.
Yeah. You gotta go to work tomorrow. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna have to do in about 370 something days, Steve. I am so gonna get me a countdown timer. And I'm gonna go visit Steve my first week. So, are we going to have a karaoke party here at the shack? I thought about it, but if we do a karaoke party and we stream it, we're going to have to turn monetization off because if I don't, we'll get a copyright strike.
Oh, you'll get it even if you have monetization on.
So I'm trying to figure out what we can do. We can't be doing karaoke, I don't think.
Karaoke for what?
A party, man. A retirement party.
Well.
But if I stream it, you guys can attend virtually. We'll figure something out. I was gonna get a disco ball, put it up here, set my karaoke outfit because I got the big speakers with the legs and everything. Set them up in here. Man, we'll be rocking this place. You don't think it's a good idea?
I mean, you do you, man.
Maybe we can do karaoke to some YouTube approved music. I'll have to.
I think I'm busy that night.
Oh, all right, but yeah, I do have some more stuff coming up, videos wise. Like I said, I got all the knives. I'm gonna be playing with the Mopo over here. Hopefully, trying to get some stuff done before Friday in case I'm out of commission. So I'm gonna get all my paid customers taken care of before Friday so that if I do go down for a week or so, hopefully nothing will get left out. So if y'all don't hear from me, I'll try to at least be here by Sunday. But hopefully between now and Thursday or so, we'll get to make another video. But anyway, that's it, guys. We need that outro that we were talking about getting, Steve.
Yeah, well.
So you want to just play the intro again? Can we do that?
We'll just yeah, no, it's gonna be a busy week. I'll actually be on the road later this week, but I will be dropping a video on this little guy probably tomorrow, talking a little bit about some tips for a portable laser setup. And so it's a bit of a review on a power station, but I try in all my videos, all my reviews, I try to also put in some tips, tricks, so they're not just, random sales pitch. And I try to be picky about things that I actually think would be useful to people. So I talk a little bit about things to look for, like what to look for in your laptop, and ways to try to, maximize your power, minimize your power consumption so you can maximize your usefulness of this. So that'll be dropping probably tomorrow. So check that out. And then, like I said, been working on a few other things with some of the machines, doing some testing on processes and such. So hopefully I can get some of that out before that. Otherwise, you may catch another road trip video from me as I head up north for a little bit. But yeah, we will see.
Cool. You going Sasquatch hunting or what?
No, I hope not. Probably just be chasing fall leaves and waterfalls and such. But Lance, I'll lock that down as we get closer. I know it's only a few weeks out. I'm tentatively planning to be there, probably not anything formally showing anything. I mean, maybe I'll set up a table in the swap area and have some lasers running or something. But yeah, that's coming up October 12th at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. There's a woodworking show. I've been to it a number of years. It keeps growing, so it's a lot of cool stuff. Last year I did do some demos and such, but this year just haven't had the chance to lock in any help, and not sure that I'll have the time the week before to get everything packed up and then driven up there. But I am going to be trying to be there at least to hang out, check things out, maybe do a little shopping amongst some of the vendors and the tool swap meet. Maybe swap a few of my woodworking tools and other things as well. So tentative, yes. But if as we get closer, I'll try to lock in more of a time and a what. So if people are going to be there, we can meet up and hang out.
Yeah, that would be cool. Just go there and just chill.
Mm-hmm.
That would definitely be viable. And then of course October, I forgot what it is. You can look at my Facebook page, but I've got an event coming up if I'm not down with this knee thing. I think it's close to Halloween, the Humane Society fundraiser thing that I sponsored. But hopefully I'll be at least able to move around with my little leg brace by then. So,
But
anyways,
carts.
Well, if not, I told my wife if I get to where I got to have a wheelchair, I'm getting me one of those tracked vehicles, wheelchairs. I want one that I can like pull over trees with, put a box blade on it, that kind of thing. So
I don't know that your insurance is going to cover that. I'll just give you one of those little knee wheelie cart things.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I won't need it. Maybe because I've been walking around with this thing tore half in two, so I don't know that the surgery is going to make it that much more hard to use.
Sounds like you need to get someone to send you like an e-scooter or something to review. You can show them how well that works in the shop.
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. I don't know that I could ride it in here though. That'd be a BR for sure then.
No, it's just a challenge. But all right.
Well, y'all be good, guys. And until next Sunday, we'll see y'all. And take it easy.